In a world that often turns a blind eye to suffering, one desperate mother's cry in a crowded hospital waiting room stopped a billionaire in his tracks. A moment that sparked a miracle and proved kindness can rewrite destinies. Welcome to HQ Infinite Stories, where we share tales that remind us of the power of humanity. The golden rays of dawn spilled through the towering windows of St. Mary's Hospital, painting the sterile halls with a warmth that couldn't quite reach the heavy hearts inside. The waiting room buzzed with restless footsteps and hushed murmurs. But one voice cut through the noise, a raw, trembling plea that carried the weight of a mother's love. Clutching her frail daughter, a young woman named Elena Harper sank to her knees near the reception desk. Her worn coat was frayed at the edges and a tattered stuffed bunny hung limply from her arm. Her daughter Lily, just 5 years old, lay pale and fragile against her chest, her shallow breaths barely stirring the air. "Please," Elena sobbed, her voice breaking like glass. "Save my little girl. I'm begging you." It wasn't just a cry for help. It was the sound of a heart splintering under unbearable fear. The hospital staff shuffled papers, their faces tight with routine apologies. "We need payment to begin treatment," one said, her tone softened by pity but firm with policy. Around Elena, the crowd barely glanced her way. To most, she was just another shadow in a world too busy to pause. But fate had other plans that morning. In that same hallway stood a man who didn't belong there. Victor Kane, a titan of industry whose name alone could shift economies and open doors to elite circles. His life was a whirlwind of private jets, tailored suits, and decisions that shaped skylines. He was only at St. Mary's for a fleeting meeting about a hospital wing his foundation was funding. Yet, as he strode past the reception desk, Elena's desperate cry stopped him cold. Victor's sharp gaze fell on the scene. A mother, broken but fierce, cradling a child whose tiny hand clung to a bunny as if it were her lifeline. Something stirred in him, a flicker of a memory long buried. He saw not just a stranger, but a mirror of his own past. A boy raised in poverty, saved by a mother who fought impossible odds. Elena's story was one of relentless struggle. Once a budding artist with dreams of painting the world's beauty, she'd been left alone when Lily's father walked out before her first birthday. Since then, Elena juggled late-night cleaning shifts, her hands rough from scrubbing floors, her meals skipped to ensure Lily had enough. Poverty wasn't just in her patched clothes or the exhaustion etched into her face. It was in the quiet defeat of a life that offered no mercy. Lily had been sick for weeks, a fever that clung stubbornly, a cough that rattled her small frame, and a weakness that stole her ability to play. Doctors diagnosed a rare condition requiring costly treatment. Without it, Lily's time was slipping away. Elena had pleaded with every charity, knocked on every door only to be met with kind words and empty promises. Now at the hospital, her final plea echoed, "She's just a child. Take me instead, but don't let her die." Victor could have kept walking. His world was built on logic, deals, and the belief that everyone carved their own path. But as he looked at Elena, her eyes blazing with love and desperation, he saw the truth. Sometimes, life's burdens were too heavy for even the strongest to bear alone. He stepped forward. "Prepare the child for treatment," he told the nurse, his voice steady but commanding. "All costs will be covered." The nurse blinked, stunned, then hurried to comply. Elena's breath caught, her tear-streaked face searching his for a trick, a catch. "Why?" she whispered, clutching Lily tighter. "Why would you help us?" Victor's eyes softened, resting on Lily's tiny hand wrapped around her bunny. "Because no child should suffer for the world's failures," he said quietly. "And no mother should have to beg for what's right." As doctors whisked Lily away for treatment, Elena sat in the waiting room, her hands trembling with hope and fear. Victor stayed, his sleek suit out of place among the worn chairs. He didn't speak, but his presence was a quiet anchor. In the silence, memories flooded him. His own childhood. Nights when his mother went hungry to feed him, her fierce love, the only thing that kept them going. He'd built an empire to escape that pain, but Elena's fight had cracked open a door he'd long kept locked. Hours later, the doctor returned with news. Lily's condition was stabilizing. The treatment was working. Elena collapsed into sobs, this time of relief, her gratitude too vast for words. But Victor wasn't done. He learned of Elena's endless struggles, her grueling jobs, The rent that devoured her income, the dreams she'd buried to keep Lily alive. Quietly, he made arrangements. He offered Elena a role at his foundation with a steady salary and hours that let her care for Lily without breaking. He set up a fund for Lily's education, ensuring her future wouldn't be chained to poverty. "You don't know us," Elena said, shaking her head in disbelief. "Why do this?" Victor's smile was small but genuine. "Someone once gave my mother and me a chance," he said. "It changed everything. Now it's my turn." The story of Elena and Victor spread like a ripple, first among the hospital staff, then beyond. In a world often hardened by indifference, one act of compassion had lit a spark. A man who once stood above the world had reached down to lift a stranger up, and in doing so, saved a life and rewrote a family's future. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elena held Lily close, her daughter's breathing stronger, her cheeks flushed with life. For the first time in years, Elena felt a flicker of something she'd thought was lost. Hope. A belief that kindness could still change the world. If this story warmed your heart or reminded you of the power of compassion, please like, share, and subscribe to HQ Infinite Stories. Drop a comment below to tell us why stories of hope and humanity matter to you. Together, let's keep spreading the light of kindness one story at a time.